I'm Laura Rogers with Caitlin Kidd, representing Kentucky Elder Law, and we appreciate all of the great questions that we got in our Wills and Estate Planning call-in show, our KET forum, and we do want to address a few more questions because we just could not get to all of them in that hour time frame. So, Caitlin, somebody asked if their will and their designated beneficiary contradict each other. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it's really dependent, Laura, on what account we're talking about. So when you sit down with me as an elder law attorney for a probate consultation, basically what we look at is what assets you had before you passed, and if they're a part of a trust, if they were solely owned in your name, or if they had a beneficiary named. As we mentioned earlier in the program, any assets that are jointly owned or have a beneficiary named pass outside of probate for the most part. So therefore, your will would not control what happens with those assets. Usually those pass with a death certificate or something similar with the financial institution that holds that account. So wills are really going to control what's solely in your name that doesn't have a beneficiary named. So to answer your question, a beneficiary designation, for the most part, generally will control what happens with that account versus your will. So sometimes your will may not even come into play if you have a beneficiary designation or jointly owned property.
Now, we had another question about if you write up a will and then circumstances change down the road, you want to make a change to your designee. Can you just simply mark out a name, put a new one down, initial it? What is that process like to make changes like that?
I wish it were that easy. That would make a lot of jobs not existent for attorneys, I would think. But nevertheless, we want the same formalities as when we executed that document to ensure there's not contests or disputes about what the testator, the person that's signing the will, intended to happen. So ideally, if we're changing a will, we want two witnesses and a notary to make it self-proving in probate court. And that's a lot of legalese that basically means we want it to be formal. We want to make sure that the testator had appropriate capacity, was over the age of 18, had all of those good things that we want to make it a valid will. And really what we're wanting to do is avoid there being a contest or a dispute from heirs or next of kin that may be taking that their name gets crossed out, right? And they're like, where did that name go? Who crossed that out? So usually we want those same formalities as when we execute.
Just preventing uncertainty in the future. And, again, this is all very generalized advice, and you, I'm sure, suggest somebody sit down with an elder law attorney. And what do those conversations look like? Yeah,
so again, most elder law firms will provide a free consultation. My firm definitely does. We sit down and kind of look at your specific situation. And again, we detail what your assets look like. We make sure that we get everything looped in that you want in your estate plan and make sure that it matches what your beneficiary designations are. Because again, to that question earlier about if it contradicts, sometimes, the will may not even come into play and we've got a beneficiary designation that maybe some folks want. So we're giving those reminders that not only are we doing your estate planning documents, but we're doing your estate in the sense that sometimes your will or other core documents may not be applicable to what those beneficiary designations look like. So when you sit down with me, we do a holistic approach to not only your estate plan, but your care. And that's what sets apart an elder law attorney from an estate planning attorney, is we're looking at not only those estate planning documents, but we're looking at what your long-term goals may look like for your care needs as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking part in our KET forum. You can see the entire program, get a lot of good information in our Wills and Estate Planning call-in online, KET.org.